Absolutely. So what I'd like to share with your audience, and this is something that I share with my students in the academy, is that I have a framework that I a 4-step framework that I step people through in terms of how to increase their leadership. And we're talking a lot about coaching and leadership today. But all of us, regardless of what we do, business or corporate or whatever it is, we're all leaders in one capacity. And so the four things that I would share is, number one is that I call my framework the LEAD framework, LEAD. And L is for learning about yourself. And that's what we've talked about here a lot today, is that it starts with the inside, the inner game. It starts with the mindset, the confidence, the understanding of limiting beliefs. And sometimes we need help in understanding those, as we talked about. And so what I would on what I would share with the audience on this point is, if you haven't done some inner work, we've talked about that in terms of journaling, but also in terms of assessments. There's some great assessments that are available out there. DISC is one of the my favorite ones, DISC. If you haven't taken the DISC assessment, personality assessment, I'm sure you've taken that, Megan, before. And these assessments are, again, helping you identify where you are today. And then the E is enrolling others in your vision. As leaders, we have to know where we're going to go. And sometimes it's so easy to talk about what we don't want to happen and what we don't want, as opposed to thinking about what we do want. And if you ask anybody, well, what is your goals? That, they'll kind of struggle with that. But if you ask them what they don't want, they can talk about that all day long, right? And so understanding what your goals are, number one. But to the point that you made earlier, it's not just enough to have goals. But you have to start taking actions toward them. To me, that is the rubber hits the road, because how many times have we all bought courses or programs or other kinds of things, and we hadn't done anything? We hadn't done anything. To me too, right? And
I don't even want to count
right,
that. Like, let's not.
right. I
No.
spent thousands of dollars on
Yeah,
stuff that I knew that it was going to be. This is going to be it right
that's
here,
right.
and you know,
Yep.
and I hadn't done anything, right? And so it's taking deliberate, uncomfortable, messy action, regardless of what it is, right? If whatever it is that you all are trying to do, just start, just get it, just do something, because by doing something and being in motion, then you can start to see what the next thing is. Oh, okay, I did this, I tried this, it didn't quite work out, but let me try it this way this time, and you start to iterate over time, and that's kind of how progress happens. And so that's kind of what the E is about, is enrolling others, because when people see you in action, then they get inspired, right? Because they say, oh, I've always thought that I wanted to do that. Megan's doing that, Ron's doing that. I think I'm going to try doing that, because the leader starts to, leadership starts with you having to take the first step. The A is affiliating with the right people. My uncle always told me, he said, you show me who you're around, and I can show you who you'll be. If you And that's why, as parents, sometimes we are so overly conscious about who our kids spend time around, who we spend time around. How many times have we have people in our life? I ain't gonna lie, I've had some people in my life that they were for a season in life. We had a great time. We had a great time during that season in life, but right now I'm in a different season in life, and so they don't quite fit into that. That doesn't mean that I have to be rude to them. It just means I can't spend time with people like that right now in this season of life, right? And so that's the affiliation piece. And as adults, I think that's hard to do, because sometimes when we grow up with people, and sometimes we obviously can't pick our family members. And I have some family members that, quiet as kept, is probably not people, some of them, not people that I need to spend a whole bunch of time with. I can still love them from a distance.
That's
Love them
right.
from a distance,
That's
right?
right. There's nothing wrong with loving from a distance.
Right. Just
I
still love
love
you.
That's right.
Right.
And I love that you talked about season, because decades, in fact, ago, I heard this idea of a reason, a season, and a lifetime. Some people come into your life for a reason, some people for
Yes.
a season, and some people for a lifetime. And it meant so much to me when I saw it. I put it on a little card and I carried it around years and years,
Wow.
because sometimes it really hurts when somebody that you think is going to be lifetime and it turns out their season, or somebody you don't even really think one way or the other, it turns out to be really short, but you learned a lesson from it. And if you have that mindset and that framework ready to capture those experiences and sort of
Yes.
help learn and grow from them and make sense of what happened, and maybe you can't always make sense of it, and that's okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
but recognizing that not every person that becomes an important part of your life is going to stay an important part of your life doesn't lessen the importance in your life.
100%, 100%. I mean, I knew that my first girlfriend was going to be my wife. I mean, I was telling you, I just knew it. I just knew it. I was 21 years old, and she was my first serious girlfriend. And when that didn't work out, I mean, I felt my world was about to change. I mean, it was like, oh my God, and
Mhm.
like I said, I mean, she was there for a season in my life, and I respect it now. It's looking back many years ago what it was, but that's, to your point. That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. And then the last piece is the D is the dedication to excellence. I hate to sound like an old guy here, but it is it is
So,
it is so rare that you see people go above and beyond these days. Because and I think COVID had a little bit of a factor in terms of it took people away from the in person and more in the virtual world. And so work has changed fundamentally since the pandemic. But it is so easy, in my opinion, right now to stand out, because to stand out only requires you to do more, just a little bit more, and to care a little bit more about what you're doing. And this is, I harp on this with my team all the time, is that it doesn't take much to stand out, because if you just care a little bit more, if you just take what you do and figure out how you can do it just a little bit better, kind of the Kaizen approach, just continuous improvement, that you will stand out. You will stand out. And that applies in leadership, that implies in what you do, and that implies in business. And and yes, we have AI and we have all this of these are all tools. We have AI, we have funnels, we have all kinds of support and consultants and that kind of thing. But ultimately, it's us that people are buying into, whether it's a career, whether it's a job, whether it's a business. They're buying us. And so taking off the mask, understanding that I'm going to be awesome in whatever I'm doing, and this doesn't mean that what I'm doing right now is what I'm going to do forever. But while I'm in this place, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the best of my ability, because that's who I am, not necessarily because of other people. Does that make sense?
oh, it absolutely makes sense. And I apparently I'm an old person with you, because as I was a teenager, there are a few, and this may have happened to you, it certainly happened to me through the course of my life. There were these moments that at that moment, I didn't understand the importance of the thing that I heard or learned or witnessed or whatever, but it genuinely changed. I can look back now and see that it changed the trajectory of my life. And
Yes.
one of them was when I heard the saying, and I don't recall it being said to me. I just remember hearing it. So I don't even think it was to me. And what they said, and I changed it a little bit because for the life I perceive, I think it works better. What they said was, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when are you going to have time to go back and fix it?
Mm, that's good.
And that was
That's
powerful.
good.
Now, the way that that's a core principle for me as a
Hmm.
leader throughout my career. I would talk to people about that when I would share my leadership principles. That is one, excellence is the way that I summarize that, and I share it
Yes.
as a core leadership principle and expectation for
Yes.
all of the people that I work with. And excellence isn't even necessarily even going above and beyond. It's
Hmm.
doing it well. So I change, because
Hmm.
to me, there's not a lot
Hmm.
of right, especially in the
Yes.
work that people do. There is, because we're all unique. We do
Yeah.
things a little bit differently. The way that you would do something, the outcome could be
Hmm.
as good or better. Just because it's
Hmm.
different than the way that I would do it doesn't mean that it's not as good or better.
That's
So
right.
I changed it from right to well. So do something
I
well the
like that.
first time. If you don't do something well the first time, when are you going to have time to go back and fix it? And it's learning that lesson, that going back and fixing it just takes more time. Like,
Yes.
even if your issue is you don't want to spend the time, that in and of itself is a
Yes.
reason to employ excellence. It is
Yes.
a time saver if you can't attach to the fact that it's just a better way to live your life. Because
100%.
if you
And
didn't like doing it the first time, so you didn't do it well, how
right.
on earth are you going to enjoy going back and doing it again because you didn't do it well the first time?
Yes. And Megan, that goes back to the first thing we talked about, is that, oftentimes we have to place trust in other people in order to get things done. But what you're talking about, doing it well the first time, means that we can trust ourselves. We can trust ourselves to know that it's who we are to do a great job, whatever that means in whatever context it means. Because sometimes when I go back to the thing about we buy these programs and these improvement types of things, and the reason why we don't follow through is because we don't trust ourselves to follow through. Because you know what, I did this last time, and it was okay for me to kind of like quit midway through because something else came up. And so when we do that enough, we start to take on that identity that I'm not going to finish what I start. And so excellence is not only for other people, but it's also for ourselves as well.
Absolutely. So give us the four again, because I loved those.
Yes. So the lead framework that I teach is the L. Yeah, L is learning about yourself. So it has to start with the inner game. The E is enrolling others in your vision. So having goals and following through on your goals. The A is affiliating with the right people. So having proximity with people that are going in the same direction and what season of life and career that you're in. And then D is a dedication to excellence. And